What is going down? Happy Sunday and a very good morning to all of you gentlemen, and the 4% of you that Google tell me are ladies, or that 4% is just blokes pretending to be ladies to fuck with web analysts, but whatever. We're back for some Grand Prix World, and I've already had a bit of feedback. You guys seem to feel that I got 2 comments and I got an email as well. Seem to feel that it would be better to return to longer length episodes that cover the full sessions live. I am going to try and make that happen for you, so you are joining me for qualifying for round 2 in Brazil. Obviously, qualifying and race together would make for like a 2.5 hour video, which no one will sit through, so we're still going to break it up that way, but every session now will be covered in full. That does mean you're going to get videos slightly less. Start that sentence again. It does mean you're going to get videos slightly less often, and it might be that we sometimes go a week without a video because I have very limited time to record and this game is incredibly unstable, and it can be that once, maybe even twice in a row, I record a race, we get to the final lap and the game crashes and everything that I've recorded up to then becomes useless. So main thing is I've got to remember to save between each session, and then I can just roll back and start the live coverage again when I am no longer pissed off. Right. So, last time out we had a shaky start, but it wasn't awful by any stretch. I just want to make sure we chat up Rory Byrne again. He's a bit of an expensive habit, is old Mr. Byrne, but I think he's worth the investment, to be quite frank. And Carl Gaden, we want to make sure he stays on board too. No sense in going backwards now. Only a $200,000 a year pay rise, so, you know, quite modest. He's not a demanding individual by any stretch of the imagination. I am going to do something important, and that is I'm going to drop 20k on a headhunter for some departments because I want to boost the numbers early in the season so we actually get the benefit. We had 12 resignations apparently. Oh no, we had 2 resignations and then we expanded the factory by 10, so no need to be so dramatic. I'll hire a good, because at least that's something. Everything else is in order. Okie dokie. So we're already onto our second evolution of the Ford V10 unit. We boosted the reliability last time. It's going to be a long road the way things are going at the moment. We have a 4th chassis, but we do not have a testing rig to really get important data out of it, really. So instead we're going to press on with what we can change, and that is primarily developing the chassis itself. And we'll just have to accept that progress is going to be otherwise slow on the engine and the fuel and so on and so forth. I'm going to drop a buttload of cash, 700,000, which is a lot to be dropping, to be honest, given our financial situation overall. I mean, we are going to be better in general, but still it's almost a quarter of all the cash on hand. By the time I'm done manufacturing spare parts, we may very well reach that figure. I'm going to drop it anyway because I really want to make sure that we get the most engine data available early in the season, and we also want to make sure that research and development on our new upgrade package can start immediately. I don't want to run the risk that we have to begin that process again on round 3. So let's make that happen. Looking good. And that means we now need to start a new project. I'm going to take everybody off the servo brakes program. No need to have them there. And I'm going to take everyone except 10% off technology. I mean, I'm not totally thrilled about that. Maybe I'll drop how many people work on next year's car. Boost that back to 20%. Because the technology we really have to work on. We've got some severe reliability problems inherent to the car, which I'm not particularly chuffed about. Let's build all the spare parts. Yeah, we're not going to be far off the money in terms of having blasted through a quarter of our budget in one round. In fact, I think we'll do it. So that goes to show, really, I don't think that was something we saw so much in the Arrows playthrough in recent seasons, but you have to make some decisions. The reason I'm just going ahead now with what looks like Reckless Abandon is that you always need spare parts. You always need them. We've not yet chosen an upgrade for the factory. I'm going to hold off on that until I see what our cash flow looks like over the next few races. Let's boost the car some more. I'm going to introduce a small power upgrade and continue to improve reliability. We don't have any control over tyres, but on the race fuel front we can boost engine tolerance, so that is good. Let's do some repairs on the cars. So obviously we had a failure to finish for car 2 last time out, not the best news. And what you're seeing already is that our capacity isn't great. We don't have enough mechanics now to repair car 3 fully. I'm going to do what I can. Oh no, we can just... no, we can't. Sorry, I was reading the wrong number. If we put all our staff and 2 sets of spare parts on this job, we will still need a further spare part, although it doesn't reflect it here. And we're still going to have 15% wear on the car. Doesn't make any sense to me, so we're going to knock it down to this and hope that... No, that screwed us. Never mind. The game's a bit quirky. You don't always get treated in what appears to be a fair manner, but them's the breaks. I didn't get any preferences from anybody thus far about which engine supply we take or which sponsors we chase after or anything else. I'm going to drop the Advantage card though on the Red Bull deal. For reasons that I hope are obvious, because it's a 3-season tie-up, which is just massive for us. I'm going to drop the number of people talking to the smaller cash sponsors in order to boost the number of people talking to Red Bull. I'm also going to take some off here because I don't think it's making a huge difference. In fact, I think Red Bull have already begun talking to another team, and that's why that's just happened. I'm going to take another 5% off the Castrol deal. That should be our priority, I think, the Red Bull deal out of the gate. Let's see if... Yeah, Red Bull have already been invited elsewhere. So we will bring along Korean Air, who are offering a 2-season deal. And it's Bridgestone we're talking to for tyres, so we will bring Bridgestone to the party as well. Did I leave people talking to Goodyear? Nope. Okay, so sponsors are sponsored. Hopefully that Advantage card and the fact we seem to have some sort of affinity with Red Bull gets us this deal, because I really hate to lose out on what amounts to 61.5 million across 3 seasons. I'd like to tie that deal up nice and early. I'd also like to tie up the Ford deal, because that's an extra million over what they pay us now. It's only a 1-season deal, but the Peugeot deal was 2 seasons, but only a partner deal, which doesn't really float my boat. And the rest are customer deals or a partnership with Mugen Honda that, while not a terrible unit, it doesn't generally get developed very much across the course of the season. I'm not even going to bother with Mercedes and Ferrari, given the teams they're attracting at the moment. I just don't see what gain there would be in it. But again, this is by committee, so if any of you guys do have a preference to try one of those, then you let me know below and we will make that happen. Okay. I'm going to pause the video just a moment, save the game, make sure we don't lose anything, and then we are going to talk driver development. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, welcome back. We are now about to do important driver developmental stuff. First thing we're going to do is make sure the drivers are equal number 1, so they can race each other. There's no rule that we're going to set up here about when car 2 would have to move aside for car 1 or vice versa. You can see here, you can say if you're within 5 seconds you need to slow down and let your teammate past. We're not going to be doing that. What we're going to do, which we've never done before, is affect how aggressive the drivers are during the course of the race weekend. Now, we have dabbled with this at a very general level, moving stuff back and forth and so on, but this time we're going to try and tailor it to each driver's specific skills. So let's run down what we can actually affect here. What we've got here is aggressiveness on the accelerator, braking, use of top speed, riding the curbs, driving offline, so obviously you've got to move offline sometimes to make an overtake. This is defense of your line, so think Hamilton Rosberg and you're not too far of the mark. Overtaking for position, and I've always taken this to mean like aggressiveness at the race start, so how you sort of outperform your rivals from the lights. What these things do is kind of, there's a double-edged sword to it. So obviously you can be more aggressive generally if you expect the race sessions to be dry. You enter problems when you've got a rookie driver like Morriera or Fellows using offline driving quite aggressively, being aggressive on the accelerator and with use of the top speed potential of the car, and then the rain breaks out. And what you've got is young, inexperienced drivers who are quite heavy-footed, who are offline in the rain, and that causes problems. So let's take a look at the skills of each particular driver and track. This is sort of like a general overview from your mechanics of how they're going to set up the car. So what we can see is that braking's reasonably important here. Speed and downforce are sort of halfway there. We're expecting a medium level of wind during the course of the Grand Prix. It's 50-50 whether it's going to be dry or wet, really, so we basically take this to mean that there is going to be a pretty high chance of rain. We're expecting high temperatures, which, Brazil, you kind of would. It's an uneven track surface. That does mean, of course, that there's a bigger penalty for going offline. It's also a very dusty track. That also affects grip, it affects traction on the curbs, it affects all kinds of things. So now we have to try and set up our drivers according to that. So what we want to do is we will have them both brake relatively late. Let's take a look at the driver stats quickly. I think they're almost identical. Yeah, what I can see is that we can do more with Morriera than Fellows out of the gate. So we'll set up Morriera first. We'll have him be quite late on the brakes, fairly aggressive on the accelerator and top speed. I'm going to tell him not to use the curbs quite so much, slightly below average. Line defense we're going to ease off on as well. I don't want him getting into unnecessary accidents. We'll get him to push a little bit more to overtake. Off the line he can be quite conservative, I think. And yeah, I think that's probably quite a good starting point for him. For Fellows, we are going to keep speed and acceleration exactly where they are, actually. I'm going to try letting him use the curbs and just see what we get out of it. Again, line defense, I'm not... Actually, do you know what? I'll make him drive a little bit more defensively than is normal. Overtaking I'm not too huge about right now. I just want to make sure the cars get to the end of the session. And yeah, we'll leave him standard for off the line. So in some areas he's actually pushing significantly more than Morriera, but I think Morriera is a little bit easier to tailor to because he's got an extra point in overall skill. Maybe we'll ease him off on the use of curbs and offline, actually. That looks a little bit more reasonable. So Fellows' job, basically, I'm assuming here that Fellows is going to end up behind Moriera, so we've got him defending his line a little bit more aggressively, and hopefully that means that he stops people getting easily through to challenge his teammate. So we're effectively making Fellows a number 2 driver at this point, but if, for whatever reason, Fellows is faster, we've in no way inhibited his ability to race Moriera and get past him. We've just made an assumption that isn't really guaranteed to play out over the course of the session. Setup. We will put extra on brakes and downforce, very, very important. Put one in speed as well, and one on overtaking for Moriera. I think actually as well we will tweak the cooling on his car a little bit. We're going to do things differently for Fellows. We're going to give him strong braking, extra downforce, and a little bit of extra speed, and we're just going to focus on the performance attributes for him. Basically, I want to give him a bit of extra downforce because he is a rookie. If he's going offline, I'd like him to have an extra bit of downforce, and brake performance as well is quite important. We're going to put the new engine units in both cars, the new fuel in both cars. We're going to run the soft compound on both cars, I think. I'm not doing my split strategy right now, but we'll see how things pan out. Everything else is set up. Let me save the game once more, and we will do the qualifying dance of our people for other people. Okay. So, this year's number 1, for those of you who are interested in playing along at home, is Mika Hakkinen for Williams, with the number 2 car being driven by Jarno Trulli. Just a point of note, 26 degrees, cloudy with a slack wind. Again, we have no idea how that affects the car, or anything else for that matter. Both cars are in tippy-top condition. And we are going to go trackside, so let's do that. Straight away, I'm going to get Moriera out of the box. That noise is really irritating. Okay, now we've turned that bullshit off. I'm sorry, I just can't tweak the volume, and I don't really feel it's a good thing to have you guys be barked at in German. The radio from the engineer in this game does sound a little bit "Our Reich will last 1,000 years," and it isn't good. And I don't like making that reference either, to be honest. This is a channel where I don't really feel the need to bring up racial prejudices of the past, but there we go. So we've got both drivers out on their outlap already. What you can't see, because the cars move too quickly, is we have the car will appear exactly as it does with the new sponsors. So the car has been reskinned, which sounds like a nice feature for this game, but actually doesn't really achieve anything. We're currently showing the track with a Sauber and one of the Prosts. I'm going to get ready to get Moriera to boot it. So he will do that. Hopefully he gets a clear run into turn 1 and 2, because I really don't want a car to come out in front of him. That would be pretty crappy. That looks like a McLaren that's just popped out on track, or an Arrows. Possibly an Arrows, actually. And now we've got the boot down as well on Fellows. I'll try and get the sound levels right for the next episode, because I know it's a bit weird not hearing anything right now. So I can't really tell at the moment, actually, if Moriera's putting in a good lap, because we've got no reference point. But I do notice that he got round the best part of the track before Fellows had even got off the start-finish straight. So bonus points for that, at least. We're entering sort of the final sharp turn now. Let's see what happens when he goes across the line. Obviously, he's going to take pole position. Stewart has got between us and the Sauber with Fellows. That's a bit of an odd one. And that is a 118.496. We're going to tell him to ease off and come into the pits, but it's good enough for pole right now. Damon Hill puts his Prost on second on a 121.761. This Sauber will be a bit more telling. What have we got here? Pedro Diniz puts in a 119.642 as whoever Stewart that is comes across. John Fellows takes pole. 117.972, a full half second ahead of Celso Moreira. Again, we don't really know why that is yet. It's too early to say. It could be that Fellows enjoys the car. Maybe he's got an affinity with the track. Maybe how we've set him up is better. Maybe how we've set his car up is better. They're not on different tyre compounds, so we know it's not that. Maybe Moreira just needs a little bit more time to warm up. However, I'll be honest, it does surprise me because on paper Moreira is the better driver. Still, we've got a British driver on pole. Ricardo Rossi crosses the line in his arrows for 118.560, good enough for third. Let's see, the Prost should be coming in, so it's the McLaren who's going to set the next time, and I'm sure it's going to be good enough for pole. Let's take a look. Oh no, he's just going out onto his fast lap, so it's actually the Stewart crossing the line that's going to tell us where we are in relation to him at least. Let's have a look here. Toru Takagi puts his Stewart in 6 on a 123.162. That is the best part of 2 seconds off the back of Damon Hill's Prost. Not particularly exciting. Something I want to check quickly is I'm kind of trying to watch the track map and see what happens here, but I want to take a look and make sure there's nothing wrong with Moreira's car. There is not. What about Fellows? Any problems? Nope. Well, either way, we have refueled. This looks like a Ferrari or a Williams coming across the line. It's a Ferrari, actually. Let's see where they are. Jean Alesi puts his Ferrari 4th on a 118.576. This is a very encouraging start, I have to say, and it does show what you can get out of your drivers when you actually take your time. Eddie Irvine splits the Jordans on a 118.395. That's still 4/10 basically off the back of John Fellows. So Moreira is the one with the work to do, but we know the speed is in the car. Something that you won't have seen because you weren't with me last season. We really did put all our efforts into this year's car, so we have the best Jordan that we could have produced last season. And Minardi crosses the line there to go on their fast lap. Let's see where this Williams is. It looks like it's Gianno Trulli. Oh no, he's just out going out for his fast lap now, actually. Who crossed the line there? Oh, Esteban Tuero Sauber for 9th, 138.231. That is a bad day at the office. I wonder if he had an off that we missed. The TV camera should actually capture it up here. So just to reiterate, the top left is basically like, consider it the world feed. So this should follow the most interesting action on track at any one time. Down here is our cam that we can switch to whoever we want, and obviously we're keeping it on Moreira right now, but maybe it should be on Fellows. Then we've got the track map here, and over here we've got different stats, so we can see the gaps here. So again, 4/10 between John Fellows and Eddie Irvine for first and second. Celso Moreira is another 10th down on Eddie Irvine. That's not 5/10 between him and Irvine. The 107% time at the moment stands at 123.430. Esteban Tuero is the only driver outside that time. And then we've got driver-specific stats regarding lap times, the tyre temperature operating window, and track conditions. Now, I'm wondering actually if we shouldn't try fueling the cars for a 4-lap run and seeing if that extra lap activates the tyres a bit better. That's something to consider, I suppose. I did like this old 12-lap rule because it gives you either 3 4-lap runs or 4 3-lap runs. And if you sort of go out and then do a spot a lap and come in, that's completely wasted track time. So it forced a lot of strategy about timing your runs, but it also forced you to commit to a fast lap even if you weren't necessarily happy, and I kind of like that. Mika Salo puts his Minardi on 11th while I've been waffling. Emmanuel Collard's Tyrrell sits in 10th. Who are the big guns who've not come out so far? We are still missing the Williams of Mika Hakkinen. We are missing the McLaren, one of the McLarens, and I've got a feeling there's someone big that we are missing here. Well, to be fair, we've only had about half the field come out, so not totally surprising. The track's clearing up a little bit. Still not much rubber down, but I do think it's the Benettons, that's who I was thinking of, because one's just gone out now. What I'm going to do is let this Minardi come through, and then we're going to put Moriera back out on track and see if he can do the business on a second run. And again, it's all about timing. We could get rain at any minute, to be honest. It looks clear right now, but this game doesn't really accurately reflect weather changes. It just sort of decides it is raining now. I'm going to send out Fellows as well, actually. We'll help rubber in the track. We've got 2 more runs with both drivers, so there's no need to stress too much. Hopefully that McLaren doesn't interfere with the lap too much. We are eased off, so that's something. There was a change there. What was it? Ricardo Rosset has leapfrogged John Lacey for 5th. So arrows are actually pretty convincing, to be honest with you. The Benetton there going across to start its fast lap. That Minardi should be pitting, which gives our old pal Moriera a good clean run to hopefully improve on his time. I have to say I'm very, very encouraged, given that we're running rookie drivers. We seem to have found a pretty good setup for both drivers, particularly Fellows, of course. But I think it's something I've always found quite difficult, to be honest, is taking the driver-focused approach, because I've always been a tech-focused kind of guy, because that's something I can tangibly understand. The real depth of the game, though, lies in trying to combine both, and that's why we're doing this playthrough. Let's see if anything else has been shaken up. Giancarlo Fisichella in the Tyrrell takes 9th on a 1:26.04. Olivier Panis in the Minardi outqualifies his teammate at this stage at least. Both our cars are on the fast lap now. It looks like we're running into traffic with Moriera though, which I don't like. Let's see where that Benetton sits. David Coulthard crosses the line in his Benetton at 1:18.853, good enough for 8th position, but no better than that. That is surprising. Big gaps so far between the Saubers. That's the one with the biggest disparity in teammate performance. Esteban Tuero backing up the rear on a 1:38.231, miles off the pace. Let's see what happens with Moriera here. No improvement. I'm not actually surprised because he's right up the arse of that Stewart. Let's see what Fellows can do though. We're gunning to beat a 1:17.972, see if he can open that gap out a little bit. He's had a fairly clean lap, so maybe we get lucky. No, he fails to improve as well. Let's take a look at the stats and see what lap times they did. Celso Moriera lost 3/10 over his opening lap, and the track seems to have got 6/10 slower for John Fellows, who had a clean lap. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But see that? The tyres are now in their prime operating window, so that is very, very good. It means that either on the outlap or over the course of the fast lap, the tyres do activate, so we are getting the best out of the tyres without overly wearing them. It tells me we've picked certainly the right compound and almost certainly the right setup in terms of suspension. That was not something we set up ourselves. We left it to the race engineer's default and didn't try and tweak it, and it seems to have been the right call to make. Moriera is back in the box, still no complaints. We're going to try switching him to a fresh set of boots for his next runs. It could be actually that we've lost time by running the tyres again. I know the condition looks really good here, but what you have to bear in mind is back in these days, qualifying tyres, I mean, they weren't a specific qualifying compound like you used to have, but they were still very much, in terms of qualification alone, one fast lap tyres. It's very few tracks you saw drivers doing 3-4 lap runs because the tyres just wouldn't work. at the same level. I mean, they were good for race distance. It's not like they disappeared completely, but you know how on the edge qualifying is. It just wasn't the right way to go. I'm going to pause the video here with 36 minutes to run, and we will jump in once things have moved on a little bit. Quick summary though before we go. John Fellows still sits on pole for Jordan on a 117.972. Eddie Irvine second for McLaren on a 118.395. Celso Moreira takes third for Jordan at the moment on a 118.496. And the change you just saw there was Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the arrows taking fifth. Johnny Newhouse is also put in a time for Benetton to take seventh on a 118.555. It's all fairly close, although Fellows does have quite a gap there. I am not even sure it's necessary to run him out again. But we will see. 34 minutes on the clock. Speak to you soon. So, welcome back. Quick update. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has gone third in the arrows on a 118.495. So, a tiny fraction of a thousandth of a second ahead of Celso Moreira, bumps him down to fourth. I think we can beat that time, but this is where strategy comes in, and I'm avoiding the temptation to go out on track right now. There was a period with only every car was coming in except this Sauber, which came out, and the first Stewart, obviously been joined by his teammate since. The track was pretty empty, but I noticed that the rubber on the optimal line is still really poor. So there was no gains to be made, and the fact is we still enjoy, with Fellows at least, a 4/10 advantage over the second place car. So I'm going to hold off, let the other cars do the heavy lifting, and we will probably do our first run in about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 minutes, and then we'll take another break, and then we will hit the track again for a final push and see what we can get. We are learning about the tyres at least, and I'm going to consider for the next Grand Prix trying one of the drivers on 3 4-lap runs and seeing if that operating window helps put in a better lap time on their second qualifying lap. Particularly with hard compound tyres, that might work. We shall see. 25 minutes to run. See you in 5. Okay, welcome back. We are starting to see some faster laps come in. Mika Hakkinen has just gone third in his Williams on a 118.460. More rubber is now down on the track. The track's a little bit busy, but if we can find ourselves a gap, I'm going to at least try and get Moreira out there. There was another change there, but I can't see who it was. Johnny Newhouse has leapfrogged John O'Lacey. David Coulthard goes second for Benetton, 118.266. So yeah, now is the time, I think. Let's make sure we've refueled Moreira's car. We have. Let's get him out. I think we're going to make it. Before the gap closes. Might actually be worth considering getting Fellows out there as well, to be honest. Why not? Why not? Sorry if I sound a little bit out of breath, but while I took that break, I went and mopped the floor and didn't want too much time to have elapsed. I didn't want to, mop away the qualifying session, as it were, because, you never see Ron Dennis doing that, for example. You never see him down on his knees, cleaning up all the oil from the garage floor, and then, oh shit, I forgot to send the drivers out. So I didn't really want to set that precedent for us. Getting ready now to kick Moreira into high gear. He, for me, has to improve. Because I don't like seeing such disparity between my drivers. I think 3 or 4 places is maybe the limit, but I suspect he's going to slip down further if he doesn't improve. So for me, we have to see some improvement there. Fellows has traffic, and that makes me an unhappy chappy. Hopefully, yeah, he did come in. That's good news. I think this Sauber could potentially be on an in-lap as well. No, he is not. So everyone's now sort of settling into where they should be. I would expect to see Moreira improve. I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't, although he will have another run to try and restore my faith in him. But Fellows has to have been the star of this particular qualifying session. I don't think there can really be much disputing that, to be honest, because his first lap with the worst track conditions has been enough for pole the entire session. which I'll be honest with you, I'd be lying if I said I expected that at all. So Morriera comes across the line. What time has he finished in? He has not improved. He has not improved. Fellows is stuck in traffic and he's not even pushing. Not even pushing. This is the level of incompetence that hopefully you have come to expect. Wasn't even pushing. If he improves, that really shows Morriera up. No, of course he doesn't improve. We're going to bring them both in, and it's really now down to the final laps. To be quite frank, 16 minutes of the session remain. Let's run down the top 10 quickly before any more cars cross the line. John Fellows still sits atop the pile after wasting one of his qualifying runs there because I didn't tell him to speed up. But he still sits at the top on a 1:17.972. David Coulthard puts his Benetton second on a 1:18.266. Very good performance from him. Eddie Irvine sits third for McLaren on a 1:18.395. Some cloud has just covered the track, so we should expect the track temperature to drop. That is interesting. That means we should have a bit more engine power as the temperature cools. Mika Hakkinen sits fourth for Williams on a 1:18.460. Hans-Oliver Frentzen is fifth for Arrows on a 1:18.495. Sosa Morriera sixth for Jordan, 1:18.496. Jarno Trulli in the second Williams put in a 1:18.512, good enough for seventh. Shinji Nakano is a 1:18.513, so a thousandth behind Trulli there in the McLaren. Johnny Herbert sits ninth for Ferrari, 1:18.534, and Johnny Newhouse takes 10th for Benetton on a 1:18.537. Good news indeed. We've got a bit of extra rubber down on the track. That is pleasing. Yeah, I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna be brave and hold off. The fact that it went from sunny to cloudy has me a little bit worried that we might see rain at any moment. What I'm also going to do is run Morriera on another new set of tyres. Yeah, I think that's good. Actually, no, they've been heat cycled, so whatever. 12 minutes of the session remain. I'm really aiming now to get this down to going out around the 6-minute mark for our final run, and just hope against hope that the traffic isn't terrible. Maybe at 8 minutes to go, we can get Morriera out, and particularly if we see a gap for him to be there. It's just so tight. It's just so tight in that little pack he's in. You've got Hakkinen on a 1:18.460, Frentzen on a 1:18.495, he's on a 1:18.496, and then Trulli's on a 1:18.512, Nakano 1:18.513. That little cluster there is really, really tightly packed, considering the alleged disparity in performance between the cars. How Fellows has stayed top is nothing short of a miracle, to be honest. Whatever lap he put in there was just phenomenal. He's the only one to break into the 1:17s. I did not expect that. I did not expect that. 9 minutes left to go. How's the track looking? Not particularly great. Let's hold off a little bit longer. I mean, a lot of drivers will have actually done all their laps at this point. I probably shouldn't discount that fact. I think with 8-7 minutes to go, we will put Morriera out again. He's gone fresh rubber. Fellows will be using heat cycled tyres. Actually, no, we won't. Put them both on fresh rubber. Gives them no excuses then. I'm still trying to figure out with this particular compound if heat cycling the tyres first actually makes the most sense. Anyway, that's Morriera out onto the track, and we're going to give Fellows another minute or two. He's in a very strong position, but I feel that gives him permission in my book to run when the track conditions are at their absolute best. It's important to tell your driver to slow down on the outlap, to be honest, so he doesn't take too much out of the tyre. He's got to get it up to temperature, of course, but you've got to appreciate that if he's pushing, it's very much like the F1 2015 playthrough with Simon and myself. You'll notice that if you ride the curbs too much and everything, you can actually really, really wipe out your tyres before you've had a chance to put down a fast lap. And the same is true in this game. I've told him to speed up a little bit there, but not go for a quali lap until now, because you want to get that final tight corner out of the way. You also want to make sure that there is heat in the tyres. There's that fine balance to be struck between conserving. I think I've just put myself into traffic. No, thank God. That means Moriera could potentially screw up Fellows' lap, but we'll see. That was really stupid of me. Ken Tyrrell had a specific rule about this, that his cars should never run together on qualifying because a yellow flag would then screw both of them, and they shouldn't be interfering with each other's qualifying laps, but we are no Ken Tyrrell apparently. Fortunately, there's a bit of a gap building up, which I would hope helps things along a little bit, and then we'll just tell Moriera to slow down. Let's wait to get this final corner out of the way for Fellows, and then we need to make sure to tell him to actually put his boot down this time. So round he goes. Okay, Moriera's going to be crossing the line in just a second. How did you do? Improvement, 118.298. That's what we wanted to see. That's good enough for third. I'm going to tell him to slow down now, and hopefully let Fellows through with minimal fuss. I really don't want him to screw up Fellows' lap here. I know we've still got quite a bit of time in the bank, and I think Coulthard run all his laps, but if there's room for improvement, I want that improvement to happen. Okay, they're coming up on each other now. Let's just hope that Moriera's got the brains to get out of the fucking way. I'm really annoyed at myself that I allowed that to happen. I am. To be honest though, it's very easy to now blame Moriera for Fellows not having a good lap, but see that? One of them locked up into the corner there. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Okay, let's see how Fellows did. No improvement. No improvement, but I suspect that we brought that upon ourselves, to be perfectly frank. 1 minute of the session remains, so unless someone like Hakkinen, who's out on track, or Trulli pulls an amazing lap out of the bag or one of the arrows, I think we've secured our first pole position, which is very, very exciting news indeed. I'm getting a lot of frame dropping, which I apologise for. I'm not entirely sure why that's happening. Let's try pausing the recording a second. So the final drivers are coming across the line now. So far it looks like we are in no danger. Jarno Trulli's on an in lap. Could be one of the Benettons, possibly. Yeah, Johnny Newhouse has a lap to finish. No improvement from him. So perhaps Lacey. No, that is the session completed. Guys, what an incredible run. I'm a little bit reluctant to take too much away from this, given that Fellows put his pole position lap in with his very first run. I'm a little bit annoyed then that we've worn out, to some degree, two further sets of tyres for apparently no gain. I'm also annoyed that he somehow couldn't match his pace when track conditions improved. I have no explanation for that, really. We know his final lap was affected by traffic. Actually, no, his lap before that as well was affected by me being an idiot. So really, he only screwed up his second run. The qualification has finished. Let's take a run down. Pole position. John Fellows takes pole for Jordan. on only his second race at the team on a 1:17.972. David Coulthard for Benetton 1:18.266. For second, Celso Moreira lines up third for a 1:18.298. Eddie Irvine takes fourth for McLaren on a 1:18.364. Heinz Frentzen fifth for Arrows on a 1:18.450, and Mika Hakkinen takes sixth for Williams on a 1:18.460. Seeing who the losers are, Toru Takagi is the final classification on a 1:23.162 for Stewart. Kind of the same ballpark, I suppose, to Mika Salo's Minardi. Esteban Tuero finally recovered at some stage during that process to take 13 ahead of teammate Pedro Diniz for Sauber. There is no huge existential gap down at the back just yet, although I will expect to see one develop at some point in the future. Guys, that was a fantastic session. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday and you have a pleasant start to the week. Keep it sexy.